Hi, everybody. Marco here with C4A Tribe. Welcome. Today is Tuesday, August the 7th, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what happened to me, okay? And I think this has been a long time coming, but what actually happened emotionally to me when I was told that my child, my firstborn child, had autism, and just sort of how, what emotional roller coaster I went through, my family went through. And I wrote a blog post on it. You can find us at www.c4autism.com. And as if you've been following us, you know that we have shifted our concept to teach special needs kids and young adults and whoever wants to really to learn how to be independent through affiliate marketing, right? Promoting your favorite product or service out there with big brands like Apple, Amazon, eBay, Samsung, you name it. You can promote just about anything you're passionate about and earn money from home. But before you even get there, you have to know a few basics, which obviously here at the C4A Tribe, we believe that it is a way in which our kids and our young adults will be able to become more independent as technology continues to evolve. But back to my original point. I know that perhaps some of you are either just now getting the diagnosis of your child being autistic or having some sort of a condition under the umbrella of autism, and that frightens you. And I understand, because thank you very much for your like. I understand that you may feel afraid. Look, I'm a human being like you, and for me, it happened about 18 years ago. And, I was in my late 20s. I was thinking about money, success, climbing the corporate ladder, being top at this, being this and that and the other. And of course, when you're in that mindset of the rat race, you sort of lose perspective as to what really is the important thing in life, which is family, friends, loved ones, but most importantly, your children, right? And so if it's your firstborn and you have all of these expectations, if it's a boy, we're going to name him this and we're going to have this for him or her. Or if it's a girl, she's going to do this at her wedding night, or, do this at her sweet 16, and, maybe be a cheerleader, or maybe play volleyball, the piano. And, you start to create all of these images in your mind for your child before they're even age 1. And that's very human. That's okay. That's normal, right? And especially when your child starts to grow up typical and there's really no difference between your child and your neighbor's child, or your child and your cousin's kid, or some other, kid around the neighborhood that they play with, and your child seems typical. So what do you do? All right, what do you do at that point? You start noticing perhaps that your child isn't playing as nicely as before. Perhaps you start noticing that there's a little bit of a lack in speech, eye contact. They're very subtle behaviors that you start noticing right around age 1.5 to 2. And you start to think, maybe my child's a little slow, or maybe I need to talk to the doctor. And so you talk to your pediatrician, and they're like, oh, don't worry about it. All of the kids are different. Don't worry about it. Your child will develop in time, and you'll be fine. And so there you are, calm down, right? You're calmed down, and you're, all right, well, my kid is perhaps a little quirky, but, there's really nothing wrong with it. The pediatrician said that there's nothing wrong with my kid, so I'm not going to worry about it. And then time keeps passing, and you keep noticing differences, right? All the other kids seem to be a little bit more independent, walking, running around, playing with toys, interacting with one another, having eye contact, recognizing their name, and your child is not. And you're like, whoa, my child isn't really doing what other typical kids are doing. So you start to worry. And so here you are talking to your spouse or your significant other about your child, or whoever you share responsibility to care for your child with autism, and you don't know what to do. And it's this emotional aspect of the diagnosis. I was watching some videos a little while ago about, different parents and groups sharing their best practices, and, that's all great. That's all awesome. But I'm more about, how do you manage yourself? It's like being on an airplane, right? While you're on an airplane, the first thing they tell you, if the oxygen masks were needed, you need to put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on your child. And that's the same exact thing in terms of the emotional care that you must give yourself in order to provide for your special need loved one, right? You got to put that oxygen mask on yourself. You got to take care of your emotional aspects first before you can be the very best parent that you can for your child. Not everyone's going to be the same. Not everyone's treatment or best practice will work. But I'll tell you, the one thing that I have found in my life, not only in the dimension of taking care of my loved special need woman now, Karina is 19 and thriving. We just enrolled her in college today. I couldn't believe it. But when they give you the diagnosis, they give you the worst case scenario, and they do it so cold. I mean, in our case, it was like 20 minutes. The guy observed our daughter, saw her walk in her tippy toes, saw her not make eye contact, saw her flap a little bit of her hands and, not have any verbal skills, and immediately looked at me and my wife and said, "She's autistic." Just like that. And we're like, what? And of course, in 2001, all I could think of literally was Rain Man. That movie with Tom Cruise and I think it's Al Pacino. No, it's not Al Pacino. It's the other guy, Dustin Hoffman. All I can think of is like, oh my God. And of course, I didn't want to show any emotion. I was floored. I was totally floored. And I can only imagine parents that would have been younger than us. I was 27 at the time. And, maybe if you were younger, that's even more crushing, right? So 20 minutes, diagnosis autistic, given a piece of paper, you got to do this, 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 and this, and then come back and see me after you've done those things. We'll go ahead and do an MRI and blah, 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 whatever. I don't even remember. I couldn't even hear anything past the word autistic. I'll tell you what my roller coaster was. I went from being, oh, this is useless. I can't believe we're going to a neurologist. This is a waste of money, to, oh my God, somebody just destroyed and bombed my world. Okay? Because you hear things like, well, probably she won't speak. And then that gets reinforced at school. Or probably she won't ever, have a lot of friends. And then that gets reinforced in school and in social settings. Maybe she won't get to drive or even finish high school. And of course, that gets reinforced with friends, family, and relatives. And then, of course, every social setting that you go to, mall, restaurant, a friend's party, you stand out like a sore thumb. And of course, none of those things help your emotional being. It's like you don't even have the mask. So how can you really be the best example for your child when you're not really taking care of yourself? And what I'm getting ready to tell you, I blogged about it today, and I wrote about it, and you can find it on the link underneath here. But, the one thing I decided immediately, and it wasn't something that makes me a very bright person or a very smart person. It just made me a decisive person. And all of us, all 7 billion people on this planet, can be decisive. And at that moment in time, I decided, you know what? I'm going to be crazily, stubbornly optimistic. Which meant to me, and it continues to mean today, that anything that anybody said about my daughter was not true, and it was actually, in fact, the opposite. So, for instance, I'll give you an example. She will never speak, and in my mind quietly be like, oh, she'll talk like a parrot. She will talk more than you could even ever imagine. Those are the things that I would say to myself over and over again. They'll say things like, oh, you know, she'll probably never get her driver's license. I'll be like, you know what? No, she'll get her driver's license exactly at the time that she needs to get her driver's license. It took her 5 times, and she got her driver's license. But I'll get to that in a moment. She didn't speak because she had spoken before H2 and the diagnosis, and then she stopped making eye contact, completely went from, we thought she was typical, to, woo, nothing, man. It was awful. It was really awful. And of course, everyone around you thinks they're helping you by crying, by joining in, by thinking that they're going to help you by victimizing, and you have to, listen, you have to fight the urge to be a victim. There are gonna be some really, and pardon my English French tone I'm gonna give you, but pardon my bluntness. You gotta not give a shit about what anybody says, okay? Because if you do, the moment you give a rat's ass about the expert's opinion about what your child can and cannot do, and I'm talking about even principals at schools, teachers' aides, the people that you put all the trust to care about your children when you're at work, right? And then, of course, you come home exhausted because work isn't necessarily an easy thing to do, right? And so here you are battling the stress at work, battling the fear, because I was petrified. I was horrifically afraid of losing all of those expectations that I had set for my daughter, my beautiful princess, who was going to dance on her sweet 16, which she didn't. She wanted to go to London and Paris. Don't ask me how she even got there, and she did it. But, you know, you have all these things in your head, right? And then you go to school the first day because she has to go to a special type of class, and then you see other children rocking back and forth, making strange noises, the teacher acting like she doesn't even know who you are or care. Man, being a parent of a newly diagnosed child with autism is a tough gig. I feel you. I've been there. My heart goes out to you. That's why I'm making this video, because I want you to know that you cannot allow the collective, and when I say the collective, I mean everyone outside of your mind, your conviction, and your child, interfere with what you know, that 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 you know, stubbornly so, that you are going to provide for your child. I believe that 95% of any kid's success is the environment and the mindset that the parents create at home and at school and with everyone that touches the child, okay? I'll make more videos and I'll tell you exactly how I ran the IEPs, because I decided, again, it goes back to the original point, when they give you that bullet in your heart that tell you that your child's autistic, what are you going to do? How are you going to handle it, right? So for today, my message is, the one thing is, you got to be optimistic. And to me, that means if they tell you that your child won't speak, you say to yourself, no, she's going to speak like a parrot. She's going to write books. She's going to be a public speaker on stage. If they say, oh, she will never get a driver's license, you'll say to yourself things like, you know what? Not only will she get a driver's license, if she even wanted to, or he even wants to, he will drive an 18-wheeler truck. That's how committed to this practice of optimism you have to be. Why? Because with me, there were 6 or 7 couples in the same boat. We were very good friends. We are still good friends. Sorry.